back to Northwest City Politics in the Know with Juanita. We're glad that you're joining us for our program again this week. We're glad there's people like you out there that are interested in the issues that happen in our cities. If you haven't watched our program before, every week we'll have some information that relates to the 9 cities in Northwest Community Television's viewing area. And we'll talk about what's happening in the cities and things that are coming up next. And we'll encourage you to take down the name and the phone number and the email of the people that we have on. So in case something resonates with you and it's of concern to you, you can get in contact with people. And then from time to time, we'll bring in groups that relate to our cities but aren't directly involved in our cities. And that's what we're doing tonight. Tonight we're very happy to have as a guest Rob Smolund, who's with a program called Open to Business in our area, and I think has a lot of interesting things that he can tell us about people starting up businesses, right?
Absolutely.
So we're very happy to have you on our program tonight, and I've asked you to give us a little background about yourself. How do you come to your position where you're at now, and a little bit about your history with the Minnesota Consortium of Community Developers.
Okay, it's the Metropolitan Consortium
Metropolitan,
of Community Developers. It's a long name and it's NCCD
right.
for short. Well, but first of all, thank you for having me on the show. I have a kind of a long history, as you can tell from the gray hair on my face, but I just love dealing with entrepreneurs. Part of that comes from being entrepreneurial myself, but I don't have the risk tolerance to go into business for myself. But I started young as an entrepreneur. I grew up in Los Angeles, and I was a ticket scalper when I was 15 years old and 16 years old. You know, I knew how to buy low and sell high. Got to see some of the best concerts in the mid-'70s in Los Angeles. It was very fun. I have years of experience in retail management. I started in the record store business when I was in high school, and then I was asked to move to Hawaii to manage a store there. I had to drop out of college for a short period of time, which was okay. I learned a lot on the ground training there, but managed that for a year in Hawaii and then came back. Finally got a degree after 7 years in environmental studies and concentrating on urban planning. Open to Business has been going on now as Open to Business for about 4 years now.
Okay. And then we're going to do this fairly often, but people, as we're going through this program and learning about it, might say, oh, I want to know more. Who can they contact, or how can they contact you?
I'm the main contact for Open to Business. You can contact me directly if you have any questions, if you have any, just a kernel of an idea of opening up a business. You can always contact me, as long as you are a resident or have a business or interested in opening up a business in one of our Open to Business cities.
Right, and we'll go into all the details of that. But we'll get your name and your phone number and your contact information up, and the Open for Business contact information up, so that people out there, if they're stimulated a little bit to think, I want to take this a little bit further, then they'll know where to go with it.
Right.
Well, we'll move on to kind of talk a little bit about the basic format of your Open to Business program. Let's start out about what the purpose of the program is. You can tell us a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the purpose is, like I said, is really to try and extend the economic development efforts of municipalities. I feel that there's a lot of talent out there in the cities, and especially people who want to open up businesses, but they might need a little bit of assistance. They might need a third-party objective view to help them with developing their business plan, or challenge their assumptions to see, is this really feasible or not? And then help them determine what are their financial needs. Many times I work with folks who were in corporate America. They've been laid off, and now they want to do their own thing, but they want to make the same amount of money as they did in corporate America. And so I try to take them through an actual financial analysis to explain, all right, how many widgets do you have to sell, you know, and to get to that point where you were making in corporate America. So we feel that the purpose is to bring this consulting service, and we also bring financial resources. We have a loan program too that we can help augment bank loans or do direct loans ourselves. So,
well, and there's the need in the communities of people, but many cities have had to retrench, combine jobs, all of that. So
absolutely.
You bring a resource that they would like to have, but they don't have to fund you on an ongoing basis,
exactly.
right?
I mean, they're funded. We've tried to price this program where it's affordable for cities, and it's an annual fee. It's to the cities, and it's the same fee as if we meet 100 people or if we only meet one person.
Right.
So, but so far it's been pretty active.
And now the original model was this partnership between Brooklyn Park and Open to Business. So tell us about that first model, or what happened with that first.
Sure. Well, I've known the business development officer, Amy Baldwin, in Brooklyn Park probably since 2005. We've worked together informally for a while, and then the Brooklyn Park Development Corporation, they have a loan fund themselves, and they have dollars that they could lend out, or they were using as guarantees of bank loans. So in like 08 and 09, no banks were lending, and they weren't getting any guarantees out there. So what they wanted to do was try to get their own dollars out on the street, and this is when we started conversations, and we entered into a contract in April of 2010 to provide business consulting, and also if there were any loans that we could do, we would split the exposure with the Brooklyn Park Development Corporation. So we would kind of manage their program to a certain degree. We would originate the loans, we would underwrite them, and we would service them. So we would, so let's say if there was a $50,000 loan request, we would do $25,000, and Brooklyn Park Development Corporation would do the other $25,000. I would have to present it to our loan committee, and I'd present it to Brooklyn Park's loan committee.
And so, like, how many people did you work with during that startup time?
Oh, well, as far as loans we did, we've done five loans in Brooklyn Park. Numbers of people in Brooklyn Park the first year, I'm not exactly sure, but I know that probably 50 to 70.
So a lot of interest.
And last year, Brooklyn Park's one of our most active cities, so last year we hit almost 75 people. And this year we're going to break that record. So
you knew the model was something you wanted to move forward, right?
Yes, it was very successful in Brooklyn Park, and part of it was because there's such an entrepreneurial immigrant population in Brooklyn Park, and most of my clients who I meet there are either from West Africa, and just an incredible entrepreneurial spirit.
So maybe you can give us a little indication about how Open to Business works with some individual cities. Who came after, or what are some of the cities that came after Brooklyn Park?
Sure.
Particularly in our Northwest area.
Well, two cities that came after Brooklyn Park may not be in Northwest, but they came out without Hennepin County support, was St. Louis Park and Minnetonka.
Oh, sure, that's right in there.
And it was interesting, Minnetonka was I was at a meeting on this new program called Economic Gardening, and the Economic Development Director asked a question to the presenters. I said, I just had someone who wants to open up a business and they need some help in strategic planning, but I don't know, who to send to. So I talked to her after the meeting, and they thought this was a perfect match. But anyways, that was the initial rush. And then Hennepin County put out a request for proposal for all of the cities in Hennepin County. Then from that, we gained Robbinsdale, New Hope, Golden Valley, Brooklyn Center, I know I'm missing Hopkins, Edina, Eden Prairie. Those are not in this area, but
not very far away. Right.
I know I'm missing somebody here, but it pretty much covers Northwest Hennepin County.
So the process is that you make a contact with the city and then talk with their city councils?
You know,
or the economic development, or?
What has happened is that cities have contacted us, basically. It's usually the economic development director. Then they go through a process of, okay, yeah, this sounds good. They're going to talk to, they're going to make a presentation to the city council. I sometimes make presentations to the council just to give them more information. And they approve it. They say, "Wow, this is pretty cheap. Let's try this." You know, St. Anthony is another city that just joined. So, but outside of Hennepin County, why I said people have contacted us. Dakota County has just joined this year. We're covering all of Dakota County. Carver County saw an article about open to business, saying, "Hey, how do we get involved?" So we're covering all of Carver County too.
So you've had a lot of growth since 2010.
Yeah, that's why my facial hair is all white now.
And it's really a partnership.
Yes.
But, I mean, there's a contract that gets signed, but it's a partnership.
What it is, and what I try to explain to cities, this is your program to the cities. We're just the back office folks, okay? But we really want you to we want this brand to be associated with Brooklyn Park, Robbinsdale. So when I know someone's calling from Robbinsdale, I'll say the Robbinsdale Open to Business Program. And to further that branding and association, I hold office hours in all of the cities that are members, once a month. And what I'll do is I'll hold a sign. I put this 7-foot retractable sign out in front of the room that I'm meeting at, or it's in the middle of City Hall, so people again associate open to business with City Hall.
That there is that
connection.
It isn't an extra thing sitting out there somewhere.
No. And so one of the things we do in the country, we rely on the city to help promote it too. So it's they try to feature it on their website very prominently. Put articles in their newsletter. In Dakota County, we're up on highway signs now.
Oh, wow.
The electronic clear channel highway signs.
So it's the city working together with you, and then you working with people in the city to help them move their ideas forward.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. The city sponsors the program, but yet because I'm not an employee of the city, I mean, people. I first try to establish a trust with the entrepreneur so that they can tell me in confidence what they want to do, and that's very important in this program. Is confidentiality.
That you're the resource that they need, or to help them move forward. Because, like you said, different people have different amounts of background experience, and they might not have all the parts and pieces they need to really getting something underway.
That's true, and that's the first process I go through in my own mind when I meet with someone. I'm figuring out what their strengths and what their weaknesses are, and I usually, in my mind, I use this, what I call the trilogy of management. I have 3 boxes. One is product service. That's what most people are passionate about. The middle one is marketing, and there's 2 parts of that. Is one to determine is there a market for your product, and then connecting the two. So that's more of the advertising and PR. 2 different skill sets. And then there's the financial management box, which is, when I draw this out in front of clients, I put a big wall before that financial management box, because I've found, I've been doing this for a number of years. I've probably seen over 3,000 entrepreneurs, and I guarantee you 95% of the entrepreneurs do not want to go into that financial management box. So my goal is to try and demystify that box. And so,
because without that, how can you be successfour?
And others would say, well, without the marketing, how could you be successful? So it's a balance. You go to the sales department and say, hey, our profit is not as high as it should be. Well, we just need more sales. You go to the financial management department and say, well, maybe we need to cut the expenses of providing those sales to get to that part. So it's a mixture.
And then I thought maybe we'd touch a little more on your access to capital and some of the things that get involved there. So there's some microloans out available for people, and what does that mean, and what are some of the guidelines?
I'll go over some of our financing options that we can provide. The first part of the microloans, which we call loans for new and emerging businesses, that's up to $25,000. It's on a case-by-case basis.
Sure.
We do a lot of underwriting and our due diligence. We're just not as strict as a regular bank. Okay, so we don't have, you have to have a 680 credit score or higher to even qualify. But we weigh everything, all of the factors to see, will we go forward with this? Because we do have a fiduciary responsibility to manage the funds that we do have, and we don't want to have a high default rate, although we don't want to have a low default rate either, because if we have a low default rate like a bank, we're not doing our job. We are there to do the higher risk loans, but it has to make sense. So that's kind of our micro loan part. The second stage is a bank participation for larger amounts. That's where we participate with a bank. The bank can't do all of it, but we would buy a portion of the loan so that it reduces the bank exposure. We're a subordinate lender, meaning that we're behind the bank. If the bank has to collect on any collateral, we would take a second position. And again, this is for second stage and growing businesses. We also will do real estate participation loans. These are larger loans that we've done in the past, and it's when a gap exists, buying a commercial piece of commercial real estate, and a gap comes up when an appraisal falls short. So everybody's financing is set, the appraisal comes in, it's $30,000 less, and there's no one else has more, they can't tolerate any more exposure. We can come in and fill that gap, and we've done a few of those. So we could be, as I say, 30,000. We did a deal last year that was actually it was $300,000, but it was part of a $4.5 million project. So we were a very small portion, but a large loan for us. It was our largest loan ever. So, and then we can do real estate acquisition financing. This is permanent term financing where we are, let's say, a 40% participant in the whole deal. These are for small commercial deals, like probably $400,000 or less, where a bank would do 50%, we could come in at 40%, and then the entrepreneur would do 10%. So, and speaking of that I think a very valuable service that we can provide are for those entrepreneurs who've been renting their space, but now they want to buy it. Buy their building. And so what I help them do is say, okay, come into my door, take your business hat off. Now you're a new business. You're a real estate investor. And I take them through a whole real estate pro forma analysis, help them determine what would be a valuable or what would be an appropriate price to buy this piece of property on, based on what their net operating income would be from that piece of real estate.
And that can be very helpful.
And I love doing that type of work too. I'm really very passionate
So what
about that.
kinds of businesses or projects are eligible for the kinds of things that you've mentioned? What types of businesses have you worked with?
Well, we don't have we have different loan sources, and some certain loan sources of capital we can't use for, let's say, liquor stores. But we have other sources that we could use. So we really don't have any ineligible projects, except for a real estate investor who has like a strip mall and does not have a business out there, and they need a loan. We're really not working so much on that. But we've done. I did a loan this year actually, for a St. Louis Park business. It was a metal anodizing business. They needed a little bit of a gap. There was a bank involved, and we provided a loan to them. We did a manufacturing business north of the cities here. That was the big project. We've done cabinet making business. Did a loan in Robbinsville for a new restaurant. A lot of food-related business loans. We've done a number of food truck loans now.
That's the new and coming thing, right?
Big thing. But so far to date, our loans, we've lent out over $750,000. That leveraged another $300,000 in equity investment and another $1.9 million in capital, outside capital.
Right.
So.
And then having the gap financing that you give then makes the bank more willing to do the loan, right?
Yeah. If not for then, that is that kind of philosophy.
And then what are the interest rates on the loans that you do?
Well, it varies.
Okay.
I'll say that it's up to 10%. Usually our microloans, our smaller ones where we're the only ones there, it's 10%. Okay, but depending on what our source is again.
Right.
But if we're with a bank and it's a very high quality credit, we'll try to match the bank, maybe a little bit higher than the bank. So it's on a case-by-case basis. We're not, for our microloans, we're not for the best deal in town. We're just for accessibility. I tell people when I work with them, we're really the lender of last resort.
Right.
Okay, because we don't want to compete with banks.
Right, but to help somebody get a business going.
Exactly.
And then you know where to point them, which banks to point them towards too, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh.
And then what are the demographics of the clients that have been served by your program?
Well, it depends on the community.
Okay.
So I'll give you an example.
Yeah, you can talk about some of the cities
Brooklyn
in the
Park, I'd say 70% minorities, 30% majority, and then it would be opposite in Eden Prairie.
Right.
Okay. We primarily are serving, again, like in Brooklyn Park, low to middle income, folks. We're not getting I'm not getting the CEOs of the mid-sized companies coming to me. They probably have hired their own, consultants. But it's a variety. It again depends on the community. Mm-hmm. In Dakota County now, it's a whole different demographic.
Right. So each area is kind of unique in the age and the background of the people that are coming to you.
And also the demographic of startups versus existing businesses. So in Brooklyn Park, again, it's a lot of 70% would be startups and 30% existing. And then that's opposite now in Dakota County.
Right. So we want to stress to people that are kind of listening to our program and maybe being stirred a little bit by the idea that it can help them focus their idea.
Yes.
And see if it's something that can be moved forward.
Right.
Or you can take somebody midstream and help them with various areas.
And also help people decide that maybe it's not a good thing to do.
Oh, right.
Too. And that's just as valuable as getting
too.
Someone into business.
Right.
And if someone is going full steam ahead, risking their retirement fund, the equity in their house for a business idea that wasn't really well thought out.
Right.
I feel if I can take them through some exercises and they decide, oh, wow, maybe this is not the right thing.
Oh, yeah, because it would be both ways with people's ideas. But having you as the advisor in the background to go through the various points that they need to. And then I thought we'd take a little bit of time and go through some examples of businesses that you had worked with and kind of some of the things that you helped them with.
Sure.
Now I know that one of the first ones that was mentioned, and I printed off and read some articles about it, that there was Divas Avenue Boutique, and I'm not sure if I can pronounce the person, but Laura Babalola?
Very good.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe and that's a Brooklyn Park one.
That's a Brooklyn
Maybe
Park.
You can give us a little information about what happened, why, what you could do to help that move along.
Absolutely. Laura Babalola just was an incredible entrepreneur, very persistent. She's always dreamed of opening up her own women's clothing store. When she first came to me, unfortunately, I had just met with 2 other entrepreneurs who were in the same business and they were failing miserably. So I was very, very skeptical.
Sure.
But Laura kept coming back to me. I gave her a lot of homework. I wanted to make sure she understood what's her cost of her clothes. I mean, she got quotes. She knew what she was going to sell it for. But she also had experience. She was managing already. She had 7 years of management experience in the industry. So that was a very nice bit to the whole package. still is a very risky deal to open up a retail women's boutique shop in a new development, which had pretty high rent. But Laura proved that she knew what she was doing, and I was able to get the amount of money that she needed through 3 different sources, 3 nonprofit lenders. Us, the Brooklyn Park Development Corporation, and Women Venture. And it helped her open up the store. She was 24 at the time.
Wow.
Woman, she was from Nigeria. Just knew her business. And I could not believe the day that she opened. I went into the store. I walked in, and she only had 3 days to pull it all together. I said, Laura, what big corporation is behind you? It looked like that. It looked like it. It looked like this was part of a 50-store chain by the Limited. I mean, everything was displayed beautifully. Every hanger had her logo on it. She just did an incredible job. Now, I helped her with really challenging her assumptions, helped her develop her business plan, put together decent projections, and I still work with her, you know, throughout the years. She's now, but she's been featured in a lot of press. That's where I read it. She's now hired an employee, what she, you know, hadn't for the first year and a half, and she's doing really well. So it's a great success story.
And I think we've got enough time to talk a little bit about, and I don't know if I can pronounce these names, but there's a Vietnamese bakery and restaurant in Brooklyn Park that you work with too.
Kim Ann's Restaurant now it's called. Lynn Hun was operating a restaurant in Brooklyn Park, very small space, and she came to me wanting to expand. She had an opportunity to move just down the street into an old Dunn Brothers location. Bigger space, but she needed financing. And it was not a bankable deal, but helped her put together a proposal. And again, Brooklyn Park Development Corporation and us, we funded it. She's going gangbusters. She's increased her employee numbers by 6 and just doing great business.
So this was a business already in place?
Yeah, already in place. They went to the city of Brooklyn Park, and Amy Baldwin referred her to me, and then we were working over the years, and then she's gotten a lot of good press too. So. And
then any other businesses in the area that people might recognize?
Sure. Well, we helped a business in, well, it's not it. It was in Minnetonka, started in Minnetonka, but then they moved to Hopkins, and it was called Grace Homes. They are a group home for memory care facility. Great operator, and we helped them with a gap loan to buy the building that they're in. So now that they're secure, knowing they're not going to get kicked out, and they've been growing. And in Golden Valley, we helped a business buy a piece of real estate. We were again part of that real estate acquisition. And then I've been working with a company called Gotta Go, Gotta Throw, a disc golf manufacturer. We've helped them with a few loans and technical assistance. So.
And I want to thank you very much for sharing your time and your business with people out in our community. And I know that you're active in several of our cities. We're glad that you've been with us this evening, and we encourage you to tune again next week. And explore your entrepreneurial ideas. Bye.
Bye.